Remember when AI-generated images just blew up? All of a sudden our feeds were flooded with these wild, incredible pictures. Well, things are moving at a lightning pace, and Google has just thrown its latest hat in the ring, Nano Banana 2. So what makes this new model such a big deal? Let's get into it. And to really get a sense of just how fast this is all moving, take a look at this timeline. It was only back in August that the original Nano Banana went totally viral. Then, just a few months later in November, we got Nano Banana Pro, which was all about professional, studio-level control. And now, here we are, with its sequel, which promises to mash the best of both of those together. So here's the game plan for today. We're going to meet the new AI on the block, then we'll break down its whole speed meets smarts thing. After that, we'll dive into the new creative controls, see where it fits into the great AI race, and then we'll tackle that huge question: what's even real anymore?
All right, first up, the new AI on the block. Let's officially meet Nano Banana 2. Now, for the tech heads out there, its proper name is Gemini 3.1 Flash Image, and really, it's built from the ground up to be faster, smarter, and way more user-friendly than what we've seen before.
You know, this quote from Google's announcement really just nails what they're going for. When they say best of both worlds, what they're talking about is taking that raw speed and fun from the original and mixing it with the super precise professional control from the Pro version. The whole idea is to get one tool that just works.
So, how does that actually work in practice? Well, that brings us to our second section, speed meets smarts. Because this isn't about having one single tool that does everything. It's more about having the right tool for the job. And Nano Banana 2 is all about creating high-quality stuff fast.
And what's super interesting is how Google is setting this up. Nano Banana Pro, that's sticking around. It's for your super high-end projects, the ones that need every single detail to be perfect. But Nano Banana 2, that's your new workhorse. It's for getting ideas out of your head and onto the screen in seconds, for following really specific instructions, and for using real-time image search to ground its creations in reality. Okay, so what can you actually do with this thing that's new? Let's pop the hood in Section 3 and check out the new creative controls.
We're talking about some major upgrades here. Things like subject consistency, which is huge. It follows your instructions way more precisely. It can crank out images up to 4K so they're ready for actual production work. The overall visual quality is just better. And this is a big one. It can actually render text that you can read. Plus, it's plugged into real-time world knowledge.
Let's just focus on subject consistency for a second, because for anyone who tells stories, this is an absolute game changer. It means you can create a character and then just keep generating images of that exact same character in a new scene, doing something different, wearing a different outfit. Think about what that unlocks for storyboarding, for comics, for concept art. It's incredible. And then there's this. It might seem like a small thing, but trust me, it's revolutionary. Text you can actually read. For the longest time, AI image tools would just spit out this weird, garbled nonsense instead of words. It was a huge pain. You'd have to export the image and fix it somewhere else. Nano Banana 2 is aiming to fix that, which means you could create a finished marketing poster or an infographic all in one shot. All right, let's zoom out a little for Section 4, the AI image race. Because, look, Google isn't doing this in a bubble. This whole space is incredibly crowded and competitive, and it is moving so fast. I mean, you've got all the heavy hitters here. OpenAI is making huge waves with its video tool Sora and, of course, DALL-E. Adobe is weaving its own model, Firefly, right into Photoshop and the rest of its creative suite. Even ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok, is getting in on the action with their own video tool. But, you know, moving this fast, it breaks things. And one of the biggest issues is the data these models are trained on. It's become a huge point of conflict. You've got major Hollywood studios and artists raising serious concerns about copyright, with some companies even facing backlash over how they got their training data. And that leads us straight into our last and honestly, maybe our most important section, what's real anymore. We're now smack in the middle of this massive challenge of AI provenance, which is just a fancy way of saying we're trying to figure out where our digital stuff actually comes from. So how do we deal with this? Well, Google's answer is what they call provenance tools. It's kind of a two-pronged attack. First, you've got SynthID, which is their own technology for adding an invisible digital watermark to AI content. Then they're pairing that with something called C2PA Content Credentials, which is more of an open, industry-wide team effort. The goal of both is to give us all a clear sign of whether or not AI was used to make something. And look, this isn't just some theory. People are actually using these tools. A lot. Since it launched back in November, that SynthID verification feature has been used over 20 million times. That's a huge number, and it tells you that people are actively trying to sort out what's human-made and what's AI-generated. Which really brings us to the final question we have to grapple with. The tools are getting more and more powerful. The images are getting more and more realistic. And the speed is just instant. The line between what's real and what's fake is blurring faster than ever. So it leaves us with this one critical thought. As this tech gets better and faster, how are we going to decide what to trust?